We're joined now by the driver of the number 18 M&M's Crunchy Mint Toyota, Kyle Busch. We'll open it up for questions. Start with Bob, Dustin, Lee.
Bob Hocker, ESPN. Do you care when they tech cars, whether it's tonight or tomorrow morning? Does it matter whether you know if you're starting where you qualified or in the back before you go to bed?
Not really. It doesn't much matter. You just adjust your game plan accordingly if something does happen to go awry, and change your course of action overnight. But you don't get to pick pits in the morning until after inspection and stuff like that. So it's going to be a quick turnaround for people to figure out their game plans.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. NASCAR is getting with teams the potential 2019 rules package. A lot of talk about that package that was used for the All-Star race. I know you've expressed your feelings about reducing horsepower. As they look to next year, what kind of a middle ground is there, or can there be a middle ground with any type of reduction of horsepower, or how much more horsepower do you want from what was used at the All-Star race to give you the ability to do things you feel like you can do?
I'm a 100% proponent of the current package or something there close to. I am a 100% against any sort of higher drag, reducing horsepower type package. That's it.
Lee Spencer. Then
Lee
Jerry.
Spencer, RacingBoys.com. Daniel was in here earlier and said he's leaned on you quite a bit over the last several weeks, and it's helped improve him. It's no different than you have mentored him throughout his entire career. What kind of changes have you seen in him as he's kind of evolved this season?
I don't think you've seen any change in Daniel. I just think that there's been more opportune times for things to happen, things to come together, for him to get it all put together. It's very, very hard in this day and age to excel or be good at what you do if you're not able to put everything together. So, Daniel's his work ethic and the things that he tries to do, and his questions are all right questions, and he's really, really, really trying more than just being a race car driver behind the scenes, which I applaud him for. He's trying to get more in depth with his crew chief and his engineers and the team meetings and things like that to understand why and to get down to the nitty gritty of what's happening, what's going on, where's his lack of performance. And so, he certainly has been able to turn some of those tables, and he's made it better for himself the last month or so, I'd say. So especially Pocono. I mean, obviously Pocono was a really, really, really good race for those guys, and they executed and did a good job, and they have to continue to do that. And it's not all on Daniel. The pit crew isn't quite there all the way. They're not 100%. If you look at the relationship of the 18 guys, they're arguably number one. The 11 guys are arguably number 3 or 4, and the 19 guys are like 15th. So they've got work to do. They've got to help out Daniel. He can't make up for that when it comes down to being on the racetrack and racing around other cars.
And this week, Bell said he believes he's ready to take the next step into Cup. And, clearly the landscape doesn't support an open ride right now. But if you were a team owner, would you put him up in Cup next year?
No. It's not that he's not ready or that he doesn't feel like he's ready. I think that's very good of him to have those aspirations or to be that ambitious. But you also got to be patient in this game. We've seen it too many times from drivers that try to out-accelerate the natural given path of what they're supposed to do or what is kind of projected for them. And they may not be here much longer, or they're at a team that then they don't excel with, and they have to move on from that team, and they excel in a different situation because they moved in too fast. Most notably, I guess, Logano with us, right? And then some other drivers I can't recall at the current moment that moved up too fast. But, William Byron has been in every year he's been in a vehicle. He hasn't stayed long enough, really, I feel like, which is fine. But, none of the Hendrick guys are lighting the world on fire, but obviously he's not either. And you put him out there on 2 tires in certain situations, and he's crashed. you know, so there's more time for more experiences to be gained in sharing another year or two in previous divisions.
Jerry?
Jerry Jordan, Kicking the Tires.net, former Safety Network. Looking ahead to next week, you've had 3 top 10s in a row at Michigan. Just going into that track, being with you're in the big 3, as they're calling it, but to know that you're solidly in, what does that track mean for you guys on the schedule?
Michigan, it's a throwaway, basically, for us. Ever since the repave, we suck there. So we just try to figure out what we can continue to do to evolve and get better there. The setup there equates nothing to anything that we race throughout the chase. So really, it's just a track that we have to go to. So, all right, we'll be there for a weekend. You know what I mean? But past that, it's certainly you never want to give away any opportunities to go out there and win a race or to excel or to take momentum away from what you're doing. So we know that we've put a focus on that track for the last 2 years, and we've gained. We've certainly made improvements. I think we run well there. Our finishes may not show for it, but we just need to be able to not have to race at 100% at Michigan all the time to finish third. You know, we need to be able to run 90% to win, and that would allow us to then be able to make up time if certain situations happen to us. If we have a loose wheel, a bad pit stop, whatever, you can make time and pass people, things like that.
In the back.
Now, last year, Brandon Menard, WENY. Now, last year, you had a fast car here at Watkins Glen, only to get kind of tangled up with Brad Keselowski. Are you looking for redemption this weekend?
Is that any different than any other year? I mean, it was self-inflicted first. You know, we obviously had just bad luck on pit road. There was a lug nut that got caught in the caliper and rotor, and we had a vibration. We had to come back down and take the tire off and fix that and put the tire back on. Had to restart in the back and come back through. And on the way back through, the 2-car was apparently, I was in his way while I was passing him. So, there's just those situations that tend to happen sometimes, especially at road courses. You try to make time anywhere you can and pass people at any chance you can. You try not to give up momentum. And that was an opportune time I saw to make a pass, and so I did. And whether or not it was Monday morning quarterback meeting, you can look at it and say you could have waited, but not in the moment. So, I don't think there's any redemption that needs to be made. I think we know that we're fast here every time we come here. Certainly we've got good speed again today, and we just got to keep it going. Figure out what executions that we can do to keep ourselves in the right spot all day long.
Griffin Haas, WNY. Can you just talk about what makes WGI unique and also what challenges the track presents?
I think what makes this road course unique is just how fast it is. It's a very fast road course. There's a lot of speed here. There's a lot of technical areas. There's a lot of time to be gained through those technical areas, but also with the amount of speed that you carry here, any dip in that speed is a big time loss. So there's a lot of that'll happen around this racetrack. So it's a fun place, though. I enjoy it. Like I said, the very technical parts of the track, just getting into turn 1, through the bus stop, through turn 5, 6 and 7 kind of being unique because they're more traditional type road course corners. They're a little bit slower. But overall, it's a fun place.
Any more questions? Thank you, Kyle.
All right.
All right, we're going to continue with our media availabilities here at Watkins Glen International in advance of tomorrow's Go Bowling at the Glen. We are joined by the defending race winner, Martin Truex Jr., driver of the number 78 5-Hour Energy Bass Pro Shops Toyota. We will now open up to questions. Please raise your hand. We will get a wireless mic to you. Start over here. And then we'll go to Bob and Lee.
Hey, Martin. You've won the last 2 road course races. Your thoughts going into this week to make it 3 in a row? Something that's kind of rare.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it. It's like coming up here to Watkins Glen. It's a great racetrack, and I really enjoy the road racing. So hopefully we can make it 3 in a row. I feel like if things would have went right, maybe we would already have 3 in a row and be going for 4. But that's racing. That's the way it goes. So being able to put it all together here last year and win was really a big win for my career, I thought, and I've been coming here a long time, so to finally get that win was special, and hopefully we can back it up this weekend.
We'll go to Bob and then Lee.
Bob Hockers, ESPN. Do you care when your car is teched after qualifying, whether it's tonight or in the morning, and so that you know where you're starting?
I don't. I mean, as long as we know where we're starting for the race, I'm okay. Whether it's the night before or the morning of. I mean, it doesn't really change a whole lot. And if anything, I guess you'd probably sleep better, tonight knowing where you're starting tomorrow. But it doesn't really change a whole lot at the end of the day.
We'll go to Lee and then Dustin. And then Jerry.
Lee Spencer, RacingVoice.com. Given your recent success in road courses, do you kind of feel like you've passed over to that fraternity of road course aces, kind of like Jeff Gordon did and Tony Stewart and those guys?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. I've been fortunate enough to obviously be with a great team the past few years and be able to take advantage of that. And they've given me great cars. So I feel like I've always been good on road courses. You look back in Xfinity days and winning in Mexico and, things like that. It's, I feel like we've always been strong on road courses, but now I feel like I have the team that gives me, stuff capable of winning. And, so we've been winning. So, I don't know how my name fits in that conversation. I guess you'd have to ask other people that.
We'll go to Dustin and then Jerry.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. As NASCAR and the teams look at go over the 2019 rules and start to determine that for next year, when you look back at the All-Star package and a lot of talk about being used again next year, the idea of the reduction of horsepower, when you look at for next year, what is a middle ground in what can be done to the engine from a driver's side? How much more do you want back from what you ran in the All-Star race? And is there a place where it's okay that there can be some sort of restriction, plate spacer or something like that for races for you guys next year?
Well, I think, a tapered spacer or some sort of, reduced horsepower is going to be part of that package when we run it. There's no question. For me personally, I would like to have as much power as possible. I'd like to deviate as little as possible from where we're at now, just based on what I know and what I've worked on as a driver my whole career. So, I think the closer we can stay to where we're at is what the drivers want. Obviously we don't make the rules, so we'll see where that goes.
We'll go to Jerry, then the far back, and then to Pat.
Jerry Jordan, kicking the tires.net and Performance Racing Network. Just looking ahead next week to Michigan, Toyota going into Ford and Chevy country, and your thoughts on maybe taking a win away from there?
Yeah, it'd be nice to get a win there. It's an interesting track. It's really difficult. It's one that's been really good to us the last couple of years, and then we went there this year and back in this early summer, and we were awful. So it's weird. The place is so big and fast. If you're off just a little bit, it really feels like a lot, and you could just really struggle. So difficult track takes a lot of everything to get around there. Horsepower, aerodynamics, setup, you name it. So difficult place, and hopefully we can go there and have a good run with our Toyota.
Tyler Feldman, WBNG, here in the back. Martin, how are you?
Good.
Good, thank you. A win tomorrow would give you 3 straight road course victories. You'd be the first Cup Series driver to accomplish that feat since Tony Stewart in 2005. Does that mean anything to you?
Well, it means a lot to me personally. I mean, I think, everybody in the garage, you want to be known as a guy that can win anywhere. And, certainly road courses, I think, are, a unique set of circumstances. I think that it's an extra special feeling to be able to win on tracks that are completely different like this. And, like I said earlier, I feel like we should have 3 in a row already and be going for 4 just because of, the trouble we had at Sonoma last year. But that's kind of the way it goes in racing. Sometimes you just, things don't go your way. And sometimes, you might win without the best car. So last year, we were lucky enough to win here. We had a great run and a great weekend. There was a couple guys that were as fast as we were, but we were able to put it all together. So it takes a lot to be able to win these races, and my hope that is that we'll be fast enough and we'll put ourselves in position, and you just got to hope that things go the way you need them to, and you're around the front at the end. See if you can go for it.
Thank you.
We'll go to Pat and then stay in the back and then come back up front to Dustin.
Pat DeCola, NASCAR.com. You and Kevin and Kyle are just so close and neck every single weekend. What are some of the nuances that going into a given weekend separate you from each other?
Yeah, I think it depends on the racetrack and where we're at. I think that I can't speak for those guys, but I'm sure that they have certain tracks that they feel like they're better at, or their team's better at, or they really have kind of dialed in a little bit more and have that confidence at. So I think we all have tracks where maybe we feel like we have a slight advantage. And you hope that when you get to those places, you can take advantage of it, because it's important. And those other two guys are so good everywhere. So, I think for us, we just try to go into every weekend and maximize points, especially, bonus points right now with the playoffs coming up. We want to get as many of those as we can. And I feel like if you go one weekend without getting any, you fall behind. You look at last weekend, Harvick got bonus points, Kyle won the race. We didn't run good, and we fell behind even more. So you just you can't let those things slip away, and you got to be on top of your game each and every weekend.
I'll see you in the back.
Griffin Haas, WNY, right over here in the back. This is a track that you obviously had success with last year. What makes you WGI unique as a track, and what challenges does it present?
Well, it's very unique in that it's the fastest road course we go to by far. We go to Sonoma, and you think that I feel like Sonoma is like a short track, right? A lot slower corners, a lot. I would say, I guess, more technical maybe, but more turns, a lot slower speeds. Less heavy braking zones, less grip, a lot more tire fall off. So just really completely 180 from there to here, where here you have really high speed, straights and even high speed corners. A few heavy braking areas, but not much tire wear, not much fall off. Fresher pavement. So just the feel you get here is completely different than Sonoma. And so I guess for me here, just the speed. This is a speedway of road courses, in my opinion, just because of the speed you carry around here, and it can be quite treacherous, especially since the repave with fairly hard tires on these cars and a lot of horsepower. So it's quite a handful, and it's pretty exciting.
You come back up front. We'll go to Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. With what you, Kyle, and Kevin have done, how has what those two guys have done challenged you this year, and how is that different from how you've been challenged in like maybe last year with your championship run? What with having those two guys there, how does that impact you or challenge you?
Well, I think again the hardest part has just been if you're off just a little bit, it's like there they go with more points. That's kind of I guess our focus. Being where we're at. We're basically. We feel like where we're at, we're going to probably be third at the regular season point standings when that ends up. We're too far behind really to catch Kyle, I believe. So unless something catastrophic happened to him in the 4 a few weeks in a row, like it did to us. But the biggest thing, honestly, the challenge is just trying each and every week to come away with something. Points, wins, playoff points is the biggest thing, I think. And the challenge is that. This sport's tough. This series is tough, and if you're off a little bit, you're pretty much you'd be the best team for 10 weeks and then go 3 in a row and get your butt kicked. But for us, when we have those off weekends, those other guys come away with points and we don't. It's like, dang, we gotta be more consistent. It's hard to say when you have 14 top fives or whatever the heck it is. You have to be more consistent, but that's just the way it is. Those guys are so good and their teams are so good. So. They execute. They don't make mistakes, and if you slip, they can take advantage of it and pull away. And that's the hard part for us has just been trying to keep up with them this year.
Is that fun or is it stressful?
It's fun. Yeah, stress really doesn't set in until the playoffs, elimination races. I guess there's a few of them that are stressful, but aside from that, it's a fun challenge. I think it's probably more stressful for the teams and the crews that they know one mistake or one bad decision could really affect the season. But I think for us as drivers, we enjoy it and thrive under that pressure of performing at a high level.
I'm going to stay up front, and then we'll go to Jim.
Andrew Laguerre from the Elmira Star-Gazette. Given the success for you and the team over the last couple of years, just wondering if there are any areas you view yourself as a driver having improved or grown as specifically?
Well, that's a good question. I would say that, in this sport today, with all the information available, if you're not continuing to evaluate yourself and work on things you could do better, and that's each and every week. It's not something that stops. You don't ever say, well, I'm the best there is, and I don't have anything else to learn. I mean, it's an evolving process. Things are constantly changing, and you have to be open-minded enough to be willing to change. I think all the good guys in the garage really look at data and look at what other guys are doing, and always have that measuring stick to look at to compare themselves to, and try to be the best that they can be. So I feel like it changes week to week, and you always have to be looking for more.
I'll go to Jim.
Jim Utter, motorsport.com. Kind of from the other side of the coin, at this point of the season, you detailed the kind of tightrope battle between yourself and Kyle and Kevin Harvick. Is it difficult to fathom someone else at this point kind of entering into that conversation as we get close to the end of the season and the playoffs? Is it even possible, do you think, for someone to join that sort of conversation?
I mean, I think it's definitely possible. I think, we've seen a few guys show up here and there, and if they can just find a way to capture that consistently, that's going to be the key. I think the thing that stands out about our three teams is just how long we've been together, the success we've all had together as groups, and the consistency we've shown. I think a lot of it's because of that. So, I mean, you see guys that, maybe you're, Boyer has 2 wins this year, and he's still fairly new with that team and feel like they're getting better. And guys like that, Almirola shows up every once in a while and has speed to challenge with his teammates, but they make mistakes. Things happen. Things don't go the way they need them to. That's just part of the learning curve, I think, as a team. So for me, I feel like there's so much of the pressure is off my shoulders because I know how good my team is. I can focus on my job. They can focus on theirs. It's kind of that confidence you leave and go to the racetrack with. I think that's something that the three of us have that is really hard to explain. It's kind of that X factor that teams look for, and it's hard to find. So as long as we keep that up, we'll be there. But you never know when somebody else could find that. And there's been guys fast enough here lately, especially to be part of that conversation.
I'll go over here to the right and then to Jerry.
George Webster, Performance Racing News. I want to ask you more about your comments about the new or the expected new package, higher drag, less power, and you say that you don't like it. Could you expand on what your reasons for that are?
Oh, I didn't say I don't like it.
Well, you said you preferred more power.
I prefer more power and the least amount of downforce possible.
Can you explain that?
I feel like making the cars easier to drive when you've worked your whole career to get to, be one of the top guys in the sport. I feel like it's it's taken away some of that advantage for me behind the wheel. So that's kind of why I don't like it. I don't want it. I don't want these cars to be easy to drive. I don't want anybody to be able to get in there and hold it wide open and call it a race. That's just not the way I see it. So I just prefer less downforce, more horsepower, harder to drive cars.
We'll wrap up with Jerry.
Jerry Jordan, kicking the tires, not in PRN. At some point this season, the moniker Big Three has come into play, and you're part of it. Does that faze you? Do you buy into any of that? Or as you talk about another guy coming in, do you worry about carrying on that so-called legacies this season of being in the Big Three?
I don't really worry too much about it. I mean, obviously, it's cool to be a part of. It's fun to be one of the guys in the conversation each weekend. It's great for our sponsors, our partners, and everything like that. It's fun to look at, but I don't worry about it. If you go out there and you don't get results for 3 or 4 weeks in a row, the next thing you know, that's all they're talking about. It's all you guys are talking about. What happened to the 78? What's going on? They're in trouble. So, I mean, it is what it is. I enjoy hearing about it when I see it, but the real fact is that we have to work hard to stay where we're at and keep pushing to get better, or else the other guys are going to pull away.
All right, Martin, thanks for joining us. Good luck
Thanks,
this
guys.
weekend.
Appreciate it.
We're joined now by the driver of the number 19 Stanley Toyota, Daniel Suarez. We'll open the floor up for questions. Bob.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. What means more going into this weekend? Your third place here last year or your second place last week?
Yeah, Bob, definitely a good place for my race team. Last year, we had a lot of fun racing here in the Glen, and obviously I have I feel like the race team has good momentum from last week. It's been a little bit rough before that, but I feel like you are as good as your last race. So right now we're as good as our last race, and our last race was pretty good. So we have to build on that and try to keep the momentum up for this weekend and try to take advantage of it.
Hi, I'm Phil Allenway from Front Stretch. Just got to ask, you've shown a lot of skill on the road courses since coming here to the U.S. In addition to your karting experience, what kind of road racing experience did you have during the early part of your career in Mexico?
Actually, that's pretty much it. I don't have a lot of road course experience or oval experience when I was young. Just go-karts. That's pretty much all that I did in road course. And after that, I jump pretty much straight to the stock car stuff, which become more ovals than road course racing. So it's been pretty much just go-karts. I feel like go-karts is like the base of everything. It really helps a lot, but it's very different as well because just the weight and the way that it drives. In the go-kart, you can do everything extremely fast, and in this car, you have to way longer, but the basics are the same. So I feel like that has been helpful to be running well in road course racing.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Daniel, your teammate Christopher Bell in the Xfinity Series has certainly done a lot here lately with the wins and having success. And talk about kind of his hopes to get up to Cup as soon as possible. You had a situation where you kind of thrust up there kind of quickly. What are the challenges like? I mean, and when did you feel like you're ready? And then once you got up there, was it like, yeah, I was ready, or wow, my head was kind of spinning, I wasn't expecting all this?
Yeah, it's maybe that's one of the biggest steps in racing. I felt like after winning the championship, I felt like I was ready, and then I moved up to the Cup Series, and I felt like it was so much more difficult than what I was expecting. Sometimes you start to get some top tens, and you say, "Man, this is easy," and then after that step is extremely difficult to be running the top 10 consistent. And to be running in the top 5, it takes a lot of time and a lot of work. You need to have a very good group of people working in exactly the same direction because you're competing with the best of the best. I feel like the Xfinity Series obviously is a lot of fun and it's very competitive, but the best of the best is in the Cup Series. And I'm not talking just about drivers, engineers, crew chiefs, pit crews, everything. So everything is just more difficult. So I think Christopher, he's doing an amazing job in the Xfinity Series, and the competition is always very, very good there. Hopefully he can get that opportunity.
In the back.
Could you just talk about what's unique about driving here at WGI and also what challenges the track presents?
Well, I think what is unique is, how fast the racetrack is for a road course. I feel like we're going very fast through the SS, getting to the bus stop. We're going very, very fast there. One of the big challenges that I think that we get here is that once we are in practice, already, we feel the speed, we feel the car and everything, but once we get into a race, everything changed so much, aero-wise, traffic, and many different, different circumstances that you get to be different in the race. And, since my first time here, I've I've been good, and I like this place since my K&N days. So it's always, I have always a smile on my face coming into the Glen. So looking forward for this weekend. I feel like it's gonna be a lot of fun. Like I said, my race team has been doing a lot of work lately, and I have worked maybe the hardest I ever worked in the last couple months to try to make sure that I get my the right shot at the racetrack. So looks like we're moving in the right direction. Hopefully we can keep moving in that direction and show more of that this weekend.
Lee?
Lee Spencer, RacingVoice.com. Good morning.
Buenos dias.
Gracias. We talked to Denny Hamlin at Pocono, and people, because of being a veteran, asked him why he can't keep up with Kyle Busch, and he said, point blank, it's execution. Do you feel that information kind of trickles down to your team from the 18 team, and are there things that you have learned? I know he mentored you tremendously through your rise up to the Cup Series, but are there other things that kind of spread out among the other three Gibbs teams?
Well, all 5 teams, pretty much. 4 teams, 5 teams. We work very closely together, already to get speed, but each team has their own engineers, crew chief, car chief. So we have the same base, and then from here we move to the right, straight, back, left. Our team decides where to go, and for months I felt like we were not making the right decisions. Earlier in the year, I just felt like we didn't have a lot of speed and we were struggling a little bit, and I truly believe that to be fast in the racetrack, you need to have a fast car out of the holder. I mean, that's key. It's impossible to make a 20-place car when you get out of the car, when you get the car out of the holder, to make up that 20-place car a winning race car by the end of second practice. That's impossible. That doesn't happen because everyone is improving, and you cannot improve that much. You need to be close to the top 5 to be able to have a shot to run top 5 or to win a race. And I felt like we were a little bit behind, out of the holder, and that wasn't something good. And with today's NASCAR schedule, we have 2 practices of 1 hour or 15 minutes, and we don't get time to make a lot of big adjustments, and we don't have a lot of testing either. So I feel like we were always a little bit behind, and lately we've been working more close to the 18, and I personally have been working a lot with Kyle as well. Actually, we have had some good conversations lately, and it's been just a few weeks on this, a few weeks, maybe 4 weeks, working more close with everything that they're doing, and I feel like the results have shown. I mean, in qualify and speed-wise, and everything has been better, and I feel like now we're moving in the right direction. We have to learn from them. I mean, they're extremely good, and that's why they're one of the big 3. Kyle is very good. His team is very good, and I mean, I will feel very dumb if I don't take advantage of that, if I don't learn from that. And that's exactly what I said to my team, and that's what we're doing right now.
Alfredo Suarez, Mundo Hispánico. Daniel, antes que nada, felicitarte por tu carrera anterior. En base a eso y al tercer lugar del año pasado en esta pista, ¿cuáles son tus expectativas para el día de hoy y de mañana, y cómo calificas hasta los momentos tu temporada?
Pues bueno, las expectativas obviamente son altas, siempre llegando aquí a The Glen. Es una pista que me gusta mucho, hemos tenido buenos resultados en el pasado y ahora venimos de una carrera muy positiva, como lo mencionaba hace un ratito. Yo siento que eres tan bueno como tu última carrera, y nuestra última carrera fue muy buena. Entonces hay que tratar de tomar ventaja de ello y de seguir avanzando. Hemos hecho, como ya mencionaba, algunos ajustes en el equipo, en cómo hemos trabajado, y creo que se ve ese cambio y se ve que vamos caminando por la línea correcta. Sin embargo, el balance de la temporada, yo te puedo decir que ha sido malo. No ha sido ni bueno ni regular, ha sido malo. No hemos tenido buenos resultados, muy inconstantes. No hemos tenido buenas ejecuciones, muchos errores, muchísimos rines sueltos, muchos errores por todos lados. y ha sido mala, pero bueno, estamos a tiempo para poder enderezar el barco y tratar de seguir adelante.
Jerry Jordan. And Dustin.
Jerry Jordan, KickingTheTires.net and Performance Racing Network. Just looking ahead next week, Daniel, to Michigan, and your thoughts on going into that track.
Honestly, I haven't think about Michigan at all. I'm one of those drivers that I focus on the race weekend that I have coming. Everything is on that, and actually, obviously I know that Michigan is next, but I haven't even think about it. But Michigan is been a good place in the past in the Xfinity stuff, but lately in the Cup stuff we've been struggling a little bit. But I don't feel like it's a bad track for me. I feel like different circumstances have kept us out from good results, but I don't feel like it's a bad track for me. So looking forward for that. But like I said, right now I haven't even spent a minute thinking about Michigan, to be honest with you.
Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. You mentioned earlier just about using Kyle's knowledge or talking to him about things. There's so many things you can pull from him. Where do you start? What do you talk about? And is there something in particular that you feel like's helped you in the last 3 or 4 weeks?
Well, I feel like it's a combination of things. The most important part is to have a close race car. We know, I know since the beginning of the year that we have the same chassis and almost the same body, and all the basics are the same. But if you have different everything, the car is going to drive different. So lately we've been working more close to them to try to be closer on everything, and obviously. We have a lot of technology in this race car these days. We have data, and we have pretty much everything. And I feel like it's pretty easy for a driver to see or to know what other driver is doing, either better or worse. And I'm able to see that. And obviously, I have a good friendship with Cal, and I can always go to him and say, hey, why you're doing this? Why you're feeling here? Or stuff like that. And he's been always very open. We have had some good conversations this week actually about everything, about the balance of the last month or the last few months, and he obviously has a lot of experience. He's young, but he has a lot of experience. So he always tells me, his perspective on things and how to get better. So it's always good.
We'll go.
Yeah.
So when you see that data with Kyle, okay, you see what he's doing, you know what he's doing, but still how challenging is it to get the car to do that, to get that speed?
Actually, that was the biggest challenge that we had, if I have to guess, 3 months ago. 3 months ago, I was able to see everything that he was doing. I was trying it, and I say, hey, I can do it. I mean, I cannot get into a corner as fast. I cannot brake as little as he's braking, and I can get to the gas as early as he can. What do you want me to do? and that was an issue. And obviously it takes time. It's not like a switch that you're off and you're going to turn it on and then you're going to be running up front. It doesn't work like that. It takes a lot of time. The 18 group has been together for a long time. That's why they're very good. And I bet the 4 guys are the same, and the 78 guys are the same too. So. It takes time and good chemistry and know each other and talent to be as strong as these guys are. We're not there yet, but we have one of those guys in our team, so we have to take advantage of that, learn from them, and try to move forward. And like I said, in the last 4 weeks, it's been much better for my race team. Sometimes we're showing that in the racetrack, sometimes we're not. But I feel like we have had way more speed than what we had before, and I'm with Joy actually. Many times I've been looking to data from the 4 guys, and I say to my team, hey, there's no way I can do that. So made that thing turn.
We'll go to Dustin and we'll wrap it up with Mundo.
Dustin Albino, front stretch. Daniel, what can you take from this weekend into the Roval, and are you excited for the Roval?
Honestly, I think that's a similar question like Michigan. You know, I haven't even think of a robot. I mean, I was thinking about it for a week when we were testing over there. I thought it was a lot of fun, something very different. You have a lot of tight corners, but you have some fast corners too. So you have kind of like both. It's not like Sonoma that almost everything is slow, or here that almost everything is fast. So you have both, but I thought it was a lot of fun to do some laps by myself. I don't know what is going to happen when you put another 40 cars in there. So I guess we'll find out together.
All right, last one.
Siempre vemos a través de las redes tu mamá compartiendo contigo en la base del equipo, tu abuelo te acompaña constantemente en tus carreras. ¿Qué papel juega tu familia dentro de tu preparación en cada carrera? Y de no haber sido corredor, ¿qué hubiese sido Daniel Suárez? ¿O qué le hubiese gustado ser a Daniel Suárez?
Pues bueno, mi familia obviamente juega un rol importante, a pesar de que no están aquí. Mi mamá se acaba de ir. Mi mamá estuvo aquí por 3 semanas y fueron vacaciones para ella, y para mí obviamente es muy padre tener a mi mamá aquí. Yo creo que no hay amor como el de la mamá, entonces siempre procurándome y cuidándome y deseándome lo mejor. Y siempre es divertido tenerla aquí, al igual que mi papá o mis hermanas. Y a mi abuelo, él viene seguido, de hecho él está aquí este fin de semana. Le encanta estar yo creo que a lo mejor la mitad de las carreras del año, y lo disfruta y lo disfruto yo, y siempre, yo creo que siempre el apoyo familiar es importante. Yo tengo la fortuna de que me apoyan demasiado, pero la desfortuna de que no están en este país mis papás, entonces me apoyan de diferentes maneras. Pero bueno, si no hubiera sido piloto de carreras, la verdad es que no sé qué hubiera hecho. Me gustan demasiado los carros. Estoy seguro que algo relacionado con carros. Mi papá tiene obviamente un taller de restauraciones, como tú sabes, y siempre que tengo oportunidad me voy a trabajar ahí con él y a divertirme. Pero eso no es muy buen negocio, es más como hobby. No sé qué hubiera hecho como real negocio, pero seguramente nada relacionado con estar sentado en un escritorio enfrente de una computadora.
All right, thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, guys.